Hello, welcome to The Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and welcome to another faction reaction with an absolutely star-studded guest. Ritchie from Just Play is here, and I can't tell you how excited I am to have you here. Ritchie, thanks very much for coming on the show.
Rob, thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be on. I don't know if I've ever been on Bars tournaments. I can't remember. I was thinking about it now.
I don't know. You've been on our live streams when we do the live coverage.
On the live streams, that's good. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Really excited. Now, Ritchie runs a store called Just Play, and they also have a YouTube channel where they do battle reports, which you should go check out, and a podcast. So there's loads of stuff. So if you want to hear more from Ritchie, I'll include all that in the show notes below, and you should definitely check them out. Great group of guys. And they also really know Age of Sigmar, and that's why I've asked Ritchie on, because you're fucking great at Age of Sigmar. So it's a pleasure having you on to talk about Fyreslayers. Fyreslayers for you and Age of Sigmar, you played them quite a bit, right?
Yeah, a fair bit. I think, probably nowhere near as much as some people who it's their only faction or anything like that. But I loved them. I followed them early on, when it was, I was tempted to get them when it was like 390 Volkites and they just sat there and done mortals when they charged, right? I think I was tempted then, but I don't know why I didn't get them. Maybe the edition was about to change, or it was a month before an FAQ or something like that, and I never jumped in. But then when this one come out, I was just all in from then, really. I started the army, I always wanted to paint it, but it's probably my best painted army, so it took me a very long time to do. So I didn't really get to play it, as much or as quick as I would have liked to. There's tournament after tournament I never made the deadline for. But I played them really early on at the Six Nations, however many years that ago is now.
2, 3,
I know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I played it then. I won all my games, and that was really early on. What are the good lists and stuff. So I don't think I played the one that everyone ended up playing, really. But
no.
It worked for me, and it's some of the things that I like, and I still stick to, and I still play with Fyreslayers. So, yeah, I've played them. I think I've played them in 2 tournaments since, and I think won 4, lost 1. And yeah, I've played them a little bit in Age of Sigmar 3 as well. I think I played 3 games with them. So
okay,
yeah.
Well, really excited to get your thoughts on it and hear how they played in 2. Just a shout out to the Twitch chat, because if you guys have watched this is the first time you're watching it. This is obviously filmed in front of a live studio audience, which is the Twitch chat. You guys should check out that, and it's also a podcast if you guys want to do that. So in Age of Sigmar 2, were they the most monosyllabic army available? Maybe even more than IDK. How did they play?
They were a castle, really, weren't they? They had, early on in Age of Sigmar 3, they had one unit, of 30, Hearthguard Berzerkers, which were not the best unit in the game, right? Because probably eels are, but they were, the toughest, probably done the most damage, could strike first, could strike twice. They'd done everything that was, oppressive, strong. They had the after save for mortals. It was a unit that was pretty much unkillable, right? There was nothing in the game could really do anything to it. And yeah, it had piles of buffs that went on it. So yeah, it was a big Death Star army, really. But people would say it was slow, which they are, right? They move 4, but they had their time. It was build your castle, get your objectives, make sure you're not losing. A fight that would inevitably happen, you would wipe everything out, really, and that's when they would all of a sudden go fast, because they would run in charge, they would fight twice, pile in once, pile in again, and they'd be all over the board, and nothing could stop them. They had 2 really good weapon profiles, and there was always a choice between which one you wanted, depending on the meta. Early on, I think axes were the best. So, just an insane weapon profile, right? 3s, round 1, 2 damage, and that's before buffs. So, yeah. They were just incredible. You were talking saves as low as a 1-up if you wanted on them. You could have reroll ones if you wanted. It just went on, didn't it? So they were definitely winning an army for everyone. And I think because of the range and obviously the joke is they all look the same, right? As well. It's not for everybody, is it? No one even knows what they're fighting. So it's that was it to start with, really. And it was a war scroll battalion army as well.
Okay.
They, like Change Host, like a few other armies, they had a War Scroll battalion that you had to take, and it was incredible. So it forced a load of the units that you had in your army as well, like 1,000 points worth. And then after that, there's still plenty of room to take some of the stuff. People basically just took Hearthguard Berzerkers, and they took more and more of them. I didn't. I took some Magmadroths because I like to be able to move around the board and present some different things for people to think about.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was how they played. And then they got better. They, I don't know, when they changed
them,
to being
right?
in units of 20.
Yeah. Super weird.
And I can't remember what that done to the points exactly. I think they got cheaper if you took like 220s. I can't quite recall exactly what it was now, but you got to take more units of them because they put that amazing unit discount on at 20. I think it was like an 80-point saving or something.
Wow.
So you got 20 of them for 400 points, like just insane. Like 40 wounds with a 4-up after save and some of the best weapon profiles out there, right? So they were just amazing, and that allowed you to take lots more units of them, because people were only really taking one early on. You could take double Lords of the Lodge, which was the War Scroll Battalion, early on, and take 2 lots of 30s, or it allowed you to take easily 3 blocks of 20 of them, plus some other stuff, all your units you need. And yeah, they strike first, they're immune to battle shock, one of them fights twice, it just goes on and on, really. You couldn't move them.
Yeah, so it was. So I'm right in thinking it's specifically the sub-faction that gave them the strike twice, or was that the War Scroll Battalion?
The War Scroll Battalion give them strike twice, yeah, but Hermdar give them strike first, give them immune to battle shock when wholly within 12, or within 12 an objective, however it was worded, wholly. Yeah, plus actually like a really good command trait as well, a -1 to wound bubble, wholly within 12 of the general.
Really, I didn't even know that. That makes it worse. That makes it worse.
I know. They only missed on they had an axe that something happened and you done immortal. I can't remember when it was even. I think it was only fighting heroes on a 6 to wound you done immortal or something. In addition,
who cares?
one of them items. So, yeah, they were stacked, man, and they kept it right. Like everyone lost strike first. Yep. People started losing fight twice, or it become more difficult to do. They never lost any of it. They had it the whole time, and they've still got it now, haven't they? So that was the army. Maybe I always felt it fell down in mission play. Some of them were more difficult to do. Like maybe they were spread out. Maybe there's a lot of objectives, and that's basically how I lost. Really, I actually lost. I can't remember. It was a Element Games event. Maybe it was a Face Hammer, or it was a Eggs, or whatever it was. But I lost the last game, and my opponent, I was playing Toby, Hellstorm Toby.
Hellstorm Toby, great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was playing him, and he didn't even have to roll a dice to beat me. Like he did roll the run roll.
Yeah.
And then he spent the CP, but he didn't even have to roll the run roll. He just moved on to objective and beat me. Because we were playing like a Burnham one with a lot of them, and I didn't play particularly well, but it was a hard game for me, and those are the type of things that I felt you started to lose on. But how did they, like,
stats wise?
You must have had a good win percentage and stuff, 60%. Right?
60%, like 60%, like even during the TTS times, even though they didn't turn up much, like KO in TTS, although they were there, 60%, and they didn't really drop below. Like, in fact, actually, even before the 2020 season, or whichever, like the last GHB before AOS 3, the year before that, they were smashing it as well. Again, like around that 60% mark. CanCon, they came like 3rd and 5th, which is obviously a huge event, 240 people. And then they even did well over at LVO, which is the same time, which is like 180, 200. So, like, they're a super successful faction, but they were only, like you say, they were like Hearthguard Berzerkers in Hermdar. Like, if ever you're doing a list review show, you're like, cool, I've read this. Then...
you had to...
Go on, FT.
Sorry, I was going to say you had to be, like, super into the faction, know every detail to care about the little changes, right? Otherwise, as a glance, you go, okay, you took... Yeah, that's it, the list.
Yeah, I was like, is there a Battlesmith? I know he's important. And is there Nulcidian Icon? I know they're really key. I know they're in there, and then we're cool. Because you're right, it didn't play any differently. So it's a mainly combat-focused army that was really well. But the thing I was going to say was very little play. interestingly. And the people who did play it well, like you, Andy Hughes, I know Kenny's in the chat, people around the world, when they loved them, and they always did super well with them.
Yeah.
But they were so rare, you didn't really have to like prep for them or like meta for them or like think it was more of a I hit the block, what do I do situation. They definitely weren't popular.
No. I think it's not a popular range as well, right? You know, it's such a small range, so that probably doesn't help either, does it? You know, as much as obviously there is a method in this game, there is that element of what do people like to take, isn't there? You know, there's only a few people who will paint up anything to win. So it's tough. They never closed out many events though, right?
No, they very rarely podiumed. Like very rarely. Like they always did very well, but they very rarely podium. But it's everyone who played them just did way above average than another faction generally. Like they
not
were
in teams though. Like they were like for Team England, they were incredible for us. You know, Six Nations, I won 5. I think Les won all 6. You know, at that ETC that year as well. Like if on the mission, you know, jam them on focal points, it's game over. You know what I mean? Like no one can beat them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, an amazing team army. Interested to see if Gargants end up being the same in the future. With that said, huge changes in Age of Sigmar 3. So we're about to talk about winners and losers first. But before that, obviously I know you've been playing Age of Sigmar 3. Also, as you just mentioned, in the English ETC team, played in the Six Nations team as well. So you're a very top-end gamer. So, like, how do you feel about Age of Sigmar 3 now? Like, what are your thoughts and feelings on the missions? What are your hot takes? Like, how do you feel about it all?
Oh, look, it's amazing. Like they've done a great job, put a great game out there. I'm super easy to please though, because I love change. You know, I don't want to play the same game forever. So, you know, give me whatever. You know, I love the General's Handbook changes for the better or the worse. I just don't want to play the same thing forever. But I love it. I think biggest hot take for me, right? It's always about the priority role. This game, it's still there. And they've carried on leaning into things that interact with it more, you know, playing on the other person's turn. I love it when they do anything like that because it is a good mechanic, but it's also like a massive put off for people, right, who maybe aren't as good, haven't given enough of a tryout, haven't understood it all. And sometimes it's just like, haha, I went twice, you lose, right? You know,
sometimes it just happens.
It's part of the game, right?
Yeah.
But the more they do with that, I love. You know, so wherever they acknowledge it in missions, you know, the gear part of taking one away on the turn 3, or like endless spells. In this case, obviously, the swing and the command points. I love all that. I still think they could do more. You know, I still think they're pretty tame with it. But yeah, they're the things I really like. I think redeploy is cool.
Yeah,
it's definitely the thing that's probably adding the most to the game right now. That, you know, the most like, oh yeah, damn, that was a good play, or oops. Or the big one now, it's like, right, don't go within 9 of anybody because the board's okay right now. You know, I'm just like, right, I know where he is, I'm happy, don't go within 9, you know. And that's good when you've got guns, right? You know, I'm just like, or like deep striking or teleports, things that allow you to move around the board that don't trigger it, you know. So I think that's been sweet. I've enjoyed that a lot. Missions, I haven't played all the missions yet.
Okay.
I think like the mission pack, I'm a little bit dubious on. So it's out, you know, like it's a bit narrative driven with the monsters. Yep. Although I think it's been done well in the, you know, the potential to score with monsters versus, you know, what you give up for them dying. You know, that's okay. Obviously, some of them are like Marathi, who doesn't die and can potentially get you however many points, is just amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all right. And the missions, yeah, they all look all right. I play 40k now as well, right? You know, not quite as good.
You play AdMech, don't you? It's not really playing 40k.
Unfortunately, yeah. The army I have is AdMech, and yeah, unfortunately, I guess what, I didn't own 120 Skatari before now, so.
I'm joking. You just locked into it. I know, because you were collecting it before. I know.
Yeah, but you know, I don't think it's quite as good as what's going on in 40k wise. You know, like secondaries versus, you know, their secondaries versus the hidden agendas and things like that. But it's much better than it was. You know, they've added a lot more to it, a lot more decisions to be made. I've enjoyed them a lot. I think the save stacking's the worst part,
Yeah,
probably.
I agree.
That's I'd like to see that if there's a window for that to change. I don't know if that's just going to stick around, but yeah, I've not enjoyed that side of things as much. And as like so we're going to talk about Fyreslayers as an army that already done that, right? But
Yeah.
as soon as, particularly if anyone's got like cancels any rend, you know, ignore 1 point of rend or something like that, then it just goes out of hand, doesn't it? So
Yeah. Yeah, the swing in actual combat profiles or profiles in general is much bigger than really it sort of seemed right at the start. Because once you start taking that save stacking, and by the way, for people at home, the save stacking references being able to add something like a Mystic Shield, which is +1 save, plus All Out Defense, which is another +1 save. So if you have rend of 1, you still have the +1 save. That's what Ritchie's talking about. And then obviously there's ways to add even more. So on something that starts on a 3-up save, you can make them effectively a 2-up save and ignore portions of rend, which and rend isn't very common, unlike 40k. Like rend is quite rare, and like when you got rend 2, you're like, oh, rend 2, hello.
yeah, Ren 1 now is just nothing, is it? You know, it's just doesn't mean much. I don't feel right now, but
yeah,
yeah, it's like the save. Sorry, yeah, you explain like the save stacking was there for some armies, and then they put more in, right?
yeah,
You know, they put all out defense and they changed Mystic Shield rightly, I guess, because they want to remove rerolls on all this save stacking, right? But and the last one, the heroic action one as well for the big beasties,
yeah,
finest hour, right?
yeah. Super
That's
Tuesdays.
got another one as well. So yeah, there's just that little bit too much about now, isn't there?
Yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty, but like, yeah, like you say, like as the takeaway, very interesting. And I think, especially for like players at your level, like a lot more dynamic, which I think is really fun. So lots of those changes, I think, probably affected Fyreslayers as much as they affected armies like OBR, specifically because it had a singular playstyle, like more so than maybe anyone else. So I'm fascinated to know what the winners and losers are in your opinion. So hit me,
Yeah, sure.
where does it go?
Yeah, look, I agree. Fyreslayers were affected by this edition a lot. You know, they were the army that we like first put on stream when we played because I felt they highlighted a lot of the ways that the rules had changed them. So yeah, they lost a lot as the faction.
Okay.
Tons, right? You know, if you're just gonna like compare them to how they were before, oh my god, they lost a War Scroll battalion that was just amazing, right? You know, but everyone did. Um, the priests got hammered from
Okay.
from only being able to do one prayer, right?
Yeah.
Like Fyreslayers, they were doing 2, 3, they were doing them on 2s, you know, so they lost a lot from the priest side of things as well. Yeah, they were the two things I thought really changed, and obviously like the unit size as well.
Yes. Yeah. Being able
Yeah,
to
that
reinforce
changed there.
units.
Yeah, and of course points change, but like you know they did for everybody, right? So, yeah, I think for a start, losers. So look, yeah, priests
Yeah.
probably the biggest loss
Okay.
for us there. Just the core rule of them only being able to do one. You know, we wanted to always do a couple of key prayers. There was run and charge one. There
Yeah.
was +1 save one. And on the war scroll of the most popular priestess, Smiter on Foot, he had a reroll all wounds prayer, which is now
Wow.
+1 to wound.
Okay.
So, you know, you wanted to do that along with prayer of Astral +1 save, along with run and charge. Maybe you were taking invocations as well that you wanted to summon. You know, the firewall was popular for a lot of people. You
Yeah.
wanted to summon that as well. So they lost a lot. But again, you know, in line with a lot of people. But that was one of the things that helped drive this army. You know, all those stackings, all those extra buffs that go on to these Death Star units. So that broke up that side of things a fair bit. I don't want to go on about the War Scroll Battalion, really, but yeah, look, they lost strike twice,
I
which
mean,
affect
doubled the effectiveness of of a unit a turn, right?
yeah. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
and added, like I said earlier, added to the movement, added to how much of board they could cover and stuff as well. So losing that was big for the army as well. But I don't think any units, particularly like points, it was a bit of a blanket increase. You
For
know,
the
yes,
game.
we got a lot. Yeah, we got a lot less Hearthguard Berzerkers. because obviously there's no unit discount now. So we could buy 20 before for 400 points. Now 20 is 500 points. So, but that's still only really in line with like what most, with the highest percentages that we've seen on increase on units, right?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
like there's someone done them stats, wasn't it? Like Lumineth
JP.
got one of the highest increases overall, and that was about 20%, and this unit's had a 20%, and it's a bit more, but it's one of the best units in the game. So I guess rightly so, in line with everything, really.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess one of the other changes is reinforcement, obviously not being able to take a 20. Like, you're only
Yeah,
able to go up to a 15 now. And I think that that's pretty telling, like, in their ability to take a punch before they hit back, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. They can. That was, I think, what drove that change down from 30 to 20 the first place, right?
Yeah.
That, oh yeah, we can actually do some damage to kill them, but you know that was more of an illusion that you might be able to. Oh, I can get through 20 instead of 30. No, I just get more Hearthguard Berzerkers. So that
So
didn't
you
quite
lose.
work out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I get
true.
more, and they're all over the board instead of just here.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I don't think that really panned out. Yeah, I think for me that's their losses. I feel positive about them. I think the winners are the players who love it, the players who want to play it, and
Okay.
that I feel like freed. I don't
Okay.
have to take that battalion. That War Scroll battalion's gone now, right?
hmm
It's it's not there. I don't have to take it. I don't have to take all the units in it because it was a terrible unit. You had to take the Rune Master.
Yep.
He was just a worse priest than the other ones. He just brought less, but he was the one you had to take. So, you don't have to take him anymore. Yeah, otherwise, you wanted a lot of the stuff in it, but it's gone. Like, I like the push towards. Oh, sorry. The other thing that's really hurt them, of course, is coherency,
Okay.
but not so bad, right? They got 2-inch reach weapons on 32 mobile guys, so
Pretty
they
good.
are still usable.
Yep.
But that does change things as well. There's obviously all the big string and having these huge blocks of guys. So I feel really great. I can take small units. I think
Yep.
5 Hearthguard Berzerkers for 125 points is pretty damn good.
Yeah. 10
They've
wounds.
got,
Yeah.
yeah, they're good. 10 wounds, probably a 4 up after save as long as you've got your heroes alive. And shoot the heroes against Fyreslayers is a fun tactic. Problem is 40 to 60 Hearthguard Berzerkers hit you after that. So, well done. That's what I've found anyway. People will take all your heroes off and break all your combos, and it's like, oh well, I've still got all these. What are you gonna do about all these now? So, and you've spent 2 turns killing all my heroes. So they I think it looks good. It's free, and I think you can take more stuff. I think we're going to see the same units, though.
You think?
Hearthguard. Yeah, we're still just going to see Hearthguard Berserkers. Nothing budged there. The Volkites lost, I think, a lot in this edition.
Okay.
They were barely seen in the list anyway,
hmm
but they went to 160 points for 10 of them. They got a 1-inch reach. They got the coherency problems. I don't see what they bring now over Hearthguard Berzerkers, because Hearthguard Berzerkers can be battle line as long as you take a rune father as your general. So
Okay.
it's not even a chore really. You can have one on foot for 100 points, so he's a cheap hero anyway. Or you can
Yeah.
take a magma drop one for like 285 points. So I think we'll still see a lot of Hearthguard Berzerkers. I think they've come out of it well. They've still got strike twice. Strike
Yes.
first, sorry. So it's still there.
Is
It's
that
not.
is that so? That's in the Hermdall subfaction.
That's Heimdall.
Is that every unit or just one unit?
One, because of the core rules now, right?
Oh,
Being
right.
able
Because
to
it's a
shoot
command
command.
ability.
It's a
Yeah.
command ability, yeah.
Yeah.
So that is made a big difference in my games. Not being able to do it with all of them, but on your turn, you can still charge, fight with one, strike first, then fight with another one, right?
Yeah.
So you still do get to do well, and they've still got it to defend against people charging them as well. But it does mean that you can't like stack command abilities on them, because you've used the I'm going to strike first with this unit, so you can't make them better at fighting. You can't all out defense them. maybe you can't, you can inspiring presence. That's later on. So, only being able to target them with one command ability as well is a bit of a thing. But we've got more command points. They're there. We've got them every turn now. We're always going to have that strike first. You're probably not going to stop us having the command points to do it. We're still an army that's good at going second. So I think, I know that's a bit more top down than me targeting every unit in the book.
But that's good. That's good because
I don't think many units have. I don't particularly think like a lot of units have moved either way in this book.
So you don't think like that there's the option to turn them into a shooting unit, right? Because Owen in the chat is asking about Oryx. And some of the other sub factions. Do you think there's some play or like something to look in those, or not really?
Yeah, no, I think if I was going to pick a unit to say that as one, it would be Auric Hearthguard, right? They're a shooting unit which hit on 4s, so can now hit on 3s, right? With all out attack. So that's really good. And we're talking about a monster meta possibly, and everyone wants to take lots of monsters. Their guns do 2 damage against monsters instead of 1. So we're talking a profile that's base 4s, 3s, round 1, 2 damage against a monster, and if they take a wound, it can half their movement on a 4+, because like you cover the feet in lava or you douse the wings in lava or something dries hard and they can't move.
Yeah.
So they definitely win. You can play them in a sub-faction called Lofnir, where there's a command ability where you pick an enemy unit within 12 of the priest, and you can add +1 to hit and wound rolls till the end of the phase with them. So they can quite easily, become 2s and 2s. You can reroll 1s to hit. You can make them battle line, so they can get to be a unit of 15 now.
Wow.
So you're investing quite a lot to do that. You are taking a bad character to make them battle line. You are, and then you're going to have to buy more of something else, because Hearthguard Berzerkers aren't going to be battle line, right? You're going to have to buy more of them. And I don't know how good 5s of them are, because they're 125 points for 5. So these units aren't cheap. It's not like you've got some shooting unit that's going to trade really well for nothing. They costs a fair amount. They're not on the cheaper side. But yeah, look, if you want to buff them that much, I was thinking on the driving into work here, what would be a big monster you would really like to kill? Because they can pop out the ground, right? They've got an 18-inch range. We've got a tunneling unit in the Rune Smiter, which is a winner here, definitely. You're free and you can take more of them. You don't have to take the Rune Master. I think people will have more deep striking now, because you can just buy this guy a bunch of times, because you want the prayers. So, but they can't pray turn 1, right? They're not on the table. So it's only from turn 2, but I think it's probably worth it for deep striking. Another nice little gain was to go off topic, was the pizza oven.
Oh yeah.
The I forget the proper name. So that,
who knows?
Yeah. Well, that starts on the board now. You don't have to have a priest to bring it up. So when the edition first come up, you always had a priest on the board, because you have like that Rune Master hanging around, and it could just like come within 6 of him. But it has to be in your territory, but it just starts on the board. So you can put all your priests under the ground now, and still get that on the table, which for a little period you might not have been able to do depending on what choices you made. But yeah, that unit, fully buffed. Yeah, you'll drop a Mega Gargant, I believe, with that. And I think you'll drop a Mega Gargant that's all out defensed and has got Amulet of Destiny even as well. I think if it's like 2s and 2s, and maybe you can have reroll 1s on your shooting if you want as well, even on that. So they can definitely lift some monsters off the board. So I've got a lot of time for maybe 10 of them under the ground popping up. Where it's like, what have you, the conversations. Okay, so what's your army do? Well, I've got this unit that can tunnel up anywhere on the board, 9 away, has got an 18-inch range, and its guns do this to monsters,
Yep.
And your opponent at an 18-inch range, they've got to do quite a lot to avoid it, haven't they?
A lot. And I think that's one of the reason I think Owen brought it up in the chat, and it's fascinating hearing your thoughts on it, is because I think probably going forward, if we're talking about meta picks, as much as I feel like Fyreslayers probably lost as much as anyone, probably one of the biggest, they lost how they played. They've got maybe the biggest swing potential because they perfectly fit into the anti-Archeon, anti-Nagash, other than Marathi, obviously. There's nothing anyone can do about that, so I'm supposed to leave that somewhere else. Like, they've got these options to take out these god monsters better than anyone else in the game, and I was kind of wondering if you think that as much as that's good potentially, you think it doesn't play well, or like you don't think it plays.
How are you getting them? How are you getting them in your armies? Like,
Okay.
they're so soft. Those ones, they've got no save, no after save. They've got a 5-up save, 2 wounds each. They just fall over. So.
Right.
Yes, they can alpha something, but if they're not alpha and monsters, it's a lot less impressive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 60 shots with a unit of 15 of them, and yeah, they're going to probably, on average, be on 3s and 3s now. Maybe you've invested in the Triumph. They actually think the prayer change on the rune smiters is +1 to wound on all attacks, I'm pretty sure. In fact, I'm very confident it is. They can wound on 2s quite easily. So they have got a good roll, You can't buff the shooting on stand and shoot though.
No.
So they are hitting on 5s there. So that's a bit rubbish.
Yeah, 100%.
But still all right against the monster. If a monster's going to charge them, right? Because it's the double damage thing at the end. So yeah, I like that. That is absolutely a winner. And they've got a good other ability. They bounce wounds from heroes that aren't on magma drops as well.
Okay.
On a 4+, they take wounds instead. So it is good for protecting your key characters as well that you might want to keep on the board. So yeah, I like them.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Definitely a winner. Definitely winner. That and the Rune Smiter, just more because you're freed up to take more of them. I think you've got that. You got a lot more freedom with your list writing, so I think people can be a lot more inventive with the lists now. So hopefully we will see some variations. But look, it's a tiny range, and the Hearthguard models are the best. So it can only go so far.
Yeah.
Again, probably to a casual observer, it might be, have you took the shooting army, or have you took Hearthguard Berzerkers, or you've got no magma drops. But to a dedicated Fyreslayer player, they're probably looking at every little change in how they've gone with what battalions, did they chase drops, where they went with artifacts, because I think there's quite a bit of choice in there as well. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yeah.
And on that subject, how do magma drops fare?
So I'm definitely interested. I'm always interested to come on this thing and see what other people think, because I'm not a WhatsApp guy. I just sit in my little bubble and read my book. I enjoy that part. I have no problem with net listing, none at all. Like, if I see I'm playing it, it's done. Like, nothing against it whatsoever. Not a snob about it. But I think, you miss out on a big part of the hobby if you don't try and take that time to, read it yourself and understand. I think there's a difference between net listing and like, I've played net lists, like, perfect example, Laurie and Sylvaneth, right?
Yeah.
I was just permanently like a month behind whatever he was doing. But when it got to the end, I understood everything that had gone through all the way because I'd done it myself as well,
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference between just picking it up and hopefully think I'm going to turn up and win with this net list. Obviously, some people can. But so I don't really know what other people think about Fyreslayers at all. So I'm sure I'd be interested to, read back and chat and see chat and whatever and what other people suggest. But I like magma drafts. I've always liked magma drafts, always, and not many other people have, because you could just take more Hearthguard Berzerkers.
You were the one of the few people I ever saw with the magma droth, actually, which is why I brought it up. Yeah.
Well, I like them because they move pretty fast, and they do so much for me. And I think that stays the same here. So they've got ignore 1 point of rend. And then let's go into what Fyreslayers have got. They have got a lot of plus save stacking already, right? Yeah. They've got a prayer we've talked about that can add 1 to save. They've got a banner that you just say, I'm using it, and everybody within 12 or with an artifact 18 gets +1 to save. Again, you're freed up now with your unit choices. You could take multiples of them if you want, so you can cover more of the board with these bonuses to save now, instead of just being like, it's a castle, we're all around this one guy. Take more, free yourself up, go around the board, control more board space and go and take all these objectives. So they've got a lot of stave stack, and I think that works well with a Magma Droth, because you can take Cold-Hearted Ancient, which gives you ignore 1 point of rend. So they can do, and it's a hero, right? So you can do Finest Hour. I've been taking on a wizard as well to have Mystic Shield, so they can abuse the save stack and thing. So you can pick your target or your time that you want to hold a bunch of units up and have this thing on a 2+ save, right? You can defend really well against a big monster coming in with them, and just increase the save up really high. I've been taking a Rune Father on Magmadroth with Cold-Hearted Ancients, and I've been unlocking extra artifacts to get him the Amulet of Destiny as well. So he's got a 5+,
After save, yeah.
ward save, after save, DPR, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I've found them to be really tough because they're pretty cheap. They start from 240, go up to 285. There's like 3 price brackets. They're a 14 wound monster with a 4+ save at like 240 at the cheapest. Damage is laughable, but
that's not what they're there for.
Against the right target, they're all right. They've got like a profile, a 6 attacks, 4s, 3s, Ren 1, 2 damage, and then a bite, 4s, 2s, Ren 2, D3 damage. And the guy on top, if you've got the Rune Father on it, which I pretty much always take, he's fine. 3s, Ren 1, 3 fixed damage. And if you do damage, you like got a latch axe, you like weapon break someone. So like a weapons -1 hit, one, I don't know, whatever, a gate breaker, Mega Gargant's thing or something like that can be broken. So I think he's decent. And again, you've got the overall prayers, which, not the prayers, what are they called? Runes that you take. Stick them runes in you and you get 1 a turn, don't you? So they've got options to increase a lot of that. You can have an extra point of rend, which again, at the right time. For me, it's always just knowing with those Magmadroths what my target's going to be in the game, how my save rolls can be stacked to basically negate and make them unkillable, at least for a turn, maybe into a turn roll where it doesn't matter if I win or lose it because they're all tied up by this Magmadroth, which is all the buffs are staying on. It's on an amazing save. They're all the ways that I commonly use them, and I think that's stuck now. And of course, they're a monster, so they unlock that potential to do all the monster extra command points, so extra victory points. So I think, and raw, and all the monster actions, right? So I'm in on them. Like I've been playing 1 or 2 always, and I think they're hard enough to kill that they don't just fall over and give you victory points away. So
okay, yeah,
I like them. And again, it's freeing. You're not buying the battalions. You can take loads of different units and do what you want. Which when we talk about lists, we'll see a few. But I think they haven't won, but they slot into that monster niche well. And again, always played well. They can do a lot for you. They're like a get the game going piece for me. I know I can go and shove one off somewhere, and maybe it goes off with 5 Hearthguard Berzerkers and pushes a flank or chooses a fight, breaks up a stalemate which the army creates, right? Because I just sit there in a castle before, and it's still going to do a little bit of that. So it's good. And if I want to deep strike units, they can move really fast to go up there and support them, get the buffs.
Yeah.
Be it, they need the hero to get the 4+ save. Maybe they want the -1 to wound bubble. I like them. I've actually been using the one that never probably seen play, the Runeson on Magmadroth. He's like the young guy. Yeah. It's all about showing off and I think like there's a funny rule: if you got 2 of them next to each other, they get better. Because he's like, hey, watch me.
Let's go, kid.
Yeah. So I've been using them because I think I'm pretty sure it's 240. I think it's a sound monster, right? 40 wounds, 4+ save, 240.
Yeah, great.
Got movement 14. Does like weird mortals on a few different ways. They've got a breath attack, which can do D6 mortals, if they're all less than the size of the unit. D6 mortal wounds. I like them. I like them a lot. And I guess because of the missions, they're a winner.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
I'd say so.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I think is that it? I mean, it's not a huge book, right? Like,
no, it's not. Obviously, I think we have touched on most of it. If we can run down from the top, you've seen the rune Father on foot. He had the command ability that was +1 to charge. So there was combos where you could like spam command points and stack that, right? Yeah. Deep strike, stack, charge all my Hearthguard. So like a little bit of a loss on him. It's nice you don't have to take the Rune Master anymore, so he can truly be took out the equation. Multiple Battlesmiths now, probably because you're a little bit freed up on what you take. Maybe that's good, but it's hard to say, like, because would you say it, existing +1 to saves are probably a big win, aren't they, because of how many more they've put in?
Yes.
So I guess it's a win for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Magma Drots, I'm saying, I'm here to give my opinion, right? So look, I'm like them. I think they're a win just because of the mission, just because of how they're pointed. So that sums them up. Hearthguard Berzerkers, not enough's changed for them. They've lost some stuff, but they work so well on MSU that I think they've done all right out of it. Hearthguard definitely on a win with them. So yeah, I think the army overall is come out of Sigmar 3 well. I would hope that anybody who played the faction and the collections they've got would be happy with how it looks. I don't think, your models you had are still all really usable.
That's great.
All of them, really. You're just playing the army differently now. And I don't know why you wouldn't want to play it differently after so long when it's such a dull army, right?
Yeah.
And that's coming from a guy who wants to win, a lot. But as I said at the start of the show, I love change. So knowing I can play these armies a little bit different now is great. I don't know if my opponents think that, though.
Do they not know it's different? You're like, look, this is very different. And they're like, it's still a lot of guy with axes. Like, what's going on? Yeah. You're like, no, it's so different.
It's a massive, if you're a Fyreslayer fan or you know the game like super well on every detail, it's a lot different. But if you're just over there and your opponent's striking first against you and you've got a 4-up ward save and none of your stuff's dying, you're just like, this is the same. Like, nothing has changed, And I know that's the way James doesn't like Fyreslayers, and yeah, every time it's just like, I'm still just getting killed by Hearthguard Berzerkers striking first. So, yeah.
Just a quick one before we get into a list then, maybe that you would think about running. I mean, I've got to ask the question, because if we're talking dwarves, which we are, you've got to ask about Gotrek being in there with them. Yeah? No? What do you think?
Look.
Yeah.
This is the biggest win for the Fyreslayers. Tournament starts. Hi, Rob, Ritchie, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Round 1 opponents, pleasure. Can I have a look at your list yet? Oh, here's my list. And you just look them dead in the face, can't you? And be, yeah, I've got Gotrek. He's a Slayer. Yes, he's in my army. It's not like, you could just say it with a straight face, can't you?
Yep.
He's there. And in Fyreslayer armies, he can't be targeted, right? Because no one knows where he is. So it's just perfect. Yeah, you can take him. Absolutely, right?
Okay.
But it's an order army, so...
I mean, you get to mock like the Eels players with him in and other stuff like more which is like there's a bonus there as well, right? As a Fyreslayer player, it's something you can do. Yeah.
I think because he's a Fyreslayer, so he gets no benefits though, right? For anybody out there, thinking, oh my god, yeah, Gotrek and Fyreslayers, he's the same as every army. He's gaining nothing, but his War Scroll now, Rob, isn't it? It's just
unbelievable.
For me, it's the heal.
It's the heal.
It's the one, really. Yeah, like that's pushed that guy through the absolute roof. Can't be killed. Although I think, like you mentioned, those Auric Hearthguard, they'd probably drop him.
Yeah.
Because how many single wounds they can do and all that. So they you wanted to he was meant to eventually die, right? That's sort of how his War Scroll was. Because do a bit of damage to him. And now, even on a double, he gets to throw a heal in between now. So, yeah, I'm not sure about that guy in the game right now. Be a shame if it'd be a shame if we're just looking at every order list with him in, wouldn't it?
It would be, and I think it would be nice to see him get a War Scroll change. Although that said, then what do we do with the save stacking? Because really, there's a nice rock paper scissors in it. Like you said, enough shots. I definitely could take Gotrek down. Can't take down Archeon or Nagash, but those two big boys are running scared of that tiny nutter. Yeah. So there's a nice rock paper scissors. Although I'd like maybe all the save stacking and Gotrek to change. Maybe that's a big ask. I'm not sure. But yeah, I do wonder
if they'll do anything with him. I know. I was wondering if, like, because he's sort of like a loner, right? Like, maybe you just
Yeah.
can't use command abilities on him or something. Maybe that would be okay. When he's just off, he is here, just doing his own thing, right? Because
Yeah.
that's all he does. So, just just causes trouble for Thankwall and Bone Ripper, doesn't he? So,
That's all he does.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely take
Yeah.
him. And I've got a list here with them in again.
Okay. Yeah.
Not
So
not
sure.
doing
What's the
not
list?
doing
What's
anything
the
special about it, but
Talk to me about the list. Thanks, Henry, for resubscribing, and everyone for tuning in, by the way. Go for it, Rich. Talk to me about your list. I'm going to put the list on the Wargamer website as well for people.
oh yeah, okay, yeah, I will, yeah, I'll do that. Right,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
reading
sure.
off
I can do
a
it. Yeah.
I'm reading off a spreadsheet now. So, oh, not a spreadsheet, a Google document. My Google document files, which I just copy and paste lists out of War Scroll Builder in all the time when I'm on the toilet. They just get bigger and bigger and bigger until I don't know what I'm looking at anymore because there's so many. And again, it's a massive thing. Like, I could share this with someone who was like a proper passionate Fyreslayer player. They'd be like, "Oh my god, he's put that guy in a Warlord battalion instead of a Vanguard. Amazing." Anyone else would just be like, Hearthguard Berzerkers, Hearthguard Berzerkers, Hearthguard Berzerkers, Hearthguard Berzerkers. So, the same thing. Right, what's this list here I'm looking at? Let me start you with the one I've played. Right,
Okay.
this is the one I've played. I think I've played 3 times now. So, in Hermdar, Triumph inspired, right? All day. We're always hoping we get +1 to wound. Hold the line is my grand strategy. Really good one for at least the lists I'm writing. Hearthguard Berzerkers as battle line. Got loads of them. Good luck killing them all. If you have killed them all, I've lost anyway. So,
Yeah.
simple one for me. Then I've took a Runefather and Magmadroth. He gets the command trait Warrior and Dominant, which is the -1 to wound bubble. So again, bigger base, wholly within 12, -1 to wound, shooting, combat. He moves far. You can put that where you want all the time. And I've got him an Amulet of Destiny and the Cold-Hearted Ancient. So he's got the 5-up Shrug, and he's got the Ignore -1 to Rend. He's also unlocking Hearthguard Berzerkers' battle line. So for me, really key guy. Then I've took 2 Rune Smiters. This is good for all lists. The 2 prayers that I rate at the top are Run and Charge and +1 save. There's a third one where you target an enemy unit and they're -1 to hit. So it's nice if you can get that in as well. The Runeson then on Magmadroth that I talked about earlier, the young guy, I've got him as well. So this is a 2 Magmadroth list. Nothing artifact wise, he's got that junk one from Hermdar. And I've given the Wormslayer Javelin. All his weapons are awful, but this is like a range 12 big spear he throws, obviously meant to kill dragons. It does 3+2 damage to monsters, or D3+2 damage to monsters. So just
Okay.
that, like that little potential to spike something down, or I like it where I like stuff like that where I might be making some decisions in my shooting phase, my charge phase or something, and I'll be like, I'm going to throw this, and if I can take 5 wounds off that guy, I might do this instead. Because the list has a lot of that, like, because their attack is against a single model, roll a dice on a 1, you do D6 mortal wounds. So, yeah, obviously better against some units, but sometimes you're like, well, maybe I'll push for Archeon or I'll push for whatever dragon this turn if I get some damage out of any of my stuff. So, I think it's okay. I took a Lord Exorcist then as an ally. So this is 6 heroes now. So I'm double warlording.
Wow.
I
All the
struggle
heroes.
not to double warlord in my lists, honestly. Like right now, I don't know. I don't think it's always a good thing, but I like the list building now. Right? You enjoy it, like where you may write a list
Yeah,
and
loads.
then
Loads.
it's good,
Like,
isn't it?
it's fun. Yeah. Although it's very hard not to immediately be like, I'm getting some enhancements. That's
Yeah.
what I'm just gunning for that all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think anything else gives you enough not to gun for that straight off the bat.
Depends how polar your army is wanting to go first or second, isn't it? Really, I think if I'm going to do something very powerful turn 1, or I just want to go like a shooting army, right? I want to give it away and go twice.
I think there's actually a really fascinating conversation about like how powerful being given the first turn is, because you can score your battle tactics in the primary so heavy first that like actually putting something in your army that's like a trading, like avoiding the first, holding off against the alpha, and then giving yourself some trading units. Is quite nice to be able to like cap early in either situation and then almost counter the alpha builds, which people will try and make them happen. Whether or not the alpha build's too strong, that's the kind of where the whole plan falls down.
Yeah, I agree a lot. I think that really lends into what I liked as one of the best things about it. Going first is much better in this game now. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And in a fair matchup, going first or second now is probably pretty damn close, right? Going first, controlling ties into 2, which you really want to control into 3, right? So, you want to roll that out. So yeah, I think you're right. And like, this is an army that, for some of those reasons, I've not give a damn about drops. I can be as high as I want. I took as many of the powerful battalions as possible. And because I can castle up, I can go and sit on them objectives, and I've got units that you have to shift. If you're going to want to control more than me or control 2 or whatever, in some occasions. So yeah, I do think this can do a lot of the things that you said. Lord Exodus. So six heroes, double warlord, unlocking 2 artifacts, which you will have seen. Obviously, I've got one on the first guy, the Runefather on Magmadroth, giving him the 5-up after save, and I've got the Battlesmith, which I've took Icon of the Ancestors, which is not the Nulcidian icon. So this one is within 18 inches, you get +1 save. So I've leaned into that a little bit more. Look, I've got a wizard, and if I cast spells on my own lads, they ignore it. So I decided after constantly I thought maybe I'd have units that wouldn't be within 12 more that you could go and do stuff with, but I just ended up being a castle still, a lot more, and wanting everyone in range. So I want to cast a Mystic Shield on things to help with this save stacking. So I give him Levitate as well, which I thought again is quite nice, maybe to get a Magmadroth out, from over your lines if it wants to go and dart outwards, someone doesn't expect, or just unclog some Slayers that are a little bit boxed up or something. So yeah, I thought a wizard would be a nice thing to have, and he gets Metamorphosis, right? So he can make something a monster. So that would give me 3 monsters if I wanted to do the run on the turn 1, which again,
I don't think you can.
There's that one where I thought about this one as well. Is this there's some of them you can and can't do, right? Which one can you?
Some.
I haven't got my
one. You might be right. You might be right. That might be one you can. I know you can't do Monstrous Takeover.
Yeah.
But the run one could be you select 3 units, and so you might be right. The ordering might be you select 3 units and then you turn it into a monster. Then you can. I
think it's something like, I think the one on this one was it's units from your monsters in your starting army, right? So he wasn't a monster on my army list, but he's a unit in my starting army and he's a monster, right? It's usually more about summoning that type of thing. So I think I remember thinking this doesn't work, but maybe it does. Meh. That's a not.
I'm not set. I'm not set on my opinion on it, so we'll say yes. Let's go for that. That works.
Well, yeah. Look, hopefully it unlocks that. So yeah, I thought it'd be worth it having a wizard. Again, the allies so much better now in this edition, right? Fitting all these battalions for you, slot them in a lot easier. So yeah, I like them. Then I've took 2 units of 10 Hearthguard Berzerkers with poleaxes. So this is my every list units here. I've got 2 characters that deep strike these 2 units. It's pretty much always going to happen, really. These have got the poleaxes, which are the mortal wound ones. They're the one right now, right? You want to do mortal wounds on 6s. You want bigger units on these, so you roll more dice. 2-inch reach, get in, no problem. Easy to fight with these whole units. So yeah, I think they're my core really. I've not gone any units bigger than 10. I want them all to be fighting all the time. I don't really worry about having some, redundancy and wound, not redundancy, but a wound buffer on these units. Yeah, so 2 of 10s of them. Then I've took 3 units of 5 with axes. These are taken because I own them with axes, but I don't think I'd change that because you're just not rolling enough dice, right, to do mortals on 6s. You know, like 12 dice, mortals on a 6, like, so what? You know, the profile after that's like 3s, Ren 0, 1 damage. So I think I'd rather go with the axes on these small MSU units. And then I've got one unit, Auric Hearthguard, the little shooting one, to help protect some of these characters. They're more of a shrug one. And then, yeah, I took Hunters in the Heartlands in there as well. So I've got a couple of me Hearthguard Berzerker units protected from Roar, etc., and getting stomped on and stuff. So might as well squeeze that in there as well, because drops don't matter in this list. So that's the army I've played with 3 times, and I've felt it's been pretty good. Yeah. Does it look different, Rob, or is it just still a bunch of Hearthguard Berzerkers? It's the same stuff I've always had, but you understand how it plays it differently, right? From at least my perspective, right?
Yeah, it doesn't castle quite as much, I guess.
True. Yeah.
Like, and then and honestly, it plays very differently, because that would just, like you said, on focal points, that would just smash like in the middle.
Yeah.
And now this gives you options on how you want to play. I even like the switch between the pole axe, like the 2 different weapon profiles, because not everything is going to be save stacking. So like I agree with you 100% on the mortals, but then the rend and the 2 damage is still wicked into like all the little trading units and other little bits that you're going to see knocking around. So I think they're going to fight quite nicely as well. So yeah, I completely agree with that. And
I've got more units to go around the board, right? I can move around the board. I've got like 2 deep strike units that was not that common before. So I do think I present more to people to think about, and you know, little trade units don't trade with units of 5 Hearthguard Berzerkers with axes. So
so they do not.
No,
so they do not.
Like they fit in cover. You know, they strike first, like, so they just need a hero near them, and yeah, they do well for you in all those sorts of engagements. As soon as you're on the objective, the battle shock immune as well, which just, you know, allows you to be more free with your command points as well. There's no like, oh, I'm going to lose 1. You can just plan till the end. You know, when someone's attacked you, and you know you're not going to lose any from battle shock. And you can plan those little small. I've just about got more models than you on the objective things. So yeah, I think they're really good.
So a final question to round it off, because this show has been phenomenal and I've loved it. So thanks so much, Ritchie, and the chat are saying the same.
Oh, thank you. I hope it was useful to everybody. So thank you.
Honestly, brilliant. Like, you could tell just how much you invested in it. A question I kind of wanted to ask, because actually it strikes me that like the model count's fairly low. Would you think it's a good army for people who are new? Or do you think like it's like, because it feels like it teaches like a lot of stuff, wholly within, like being a fairly important like mechanic to teach yourself, like, oh, get my hero in range every time, and then but isn't too many dice and isn't too much to try and like it feels, your list at least, like it might be like okay for a new-ish player to try and achieve.
I guess I don't. It's probably pretty forgiving, right? You know, you don't make a mistake. Your units don't all just come off the board, so that's a nice side of things. It does teach you. It's good, yeah. It does teach you a lot of the game, a lot with command points, yeah, a lot with managing ranges. It's quite samey, the army. You've got a couple of fast moving things if you take magma drops. I think it's an okay army for a beginner, but I don't know. I tell beginners, you've got to like your army, right? Like, does everybody like those? You've got to like those models.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be into.
No, I get it.
It is all the same. I think I had no idea how well these sell. From me, you know, I don't sell loads of these guys, you know. It's so rare, you know. I'll move a bunch of Hearthguard Berzerkers off the board, even when they're insanely good, right? So yeah, I think if you were coming into the game as a gamer with an interest in the mechanics and wanting to win and wanting to go to tournaments, and not coming into the game, you know, like most people do, they love it for the hobby, the models, they like the lore, some community article, some video they've done, sold them on it, whatever. They those type of people, they just want to pick what they like. But yeah, maybe coming into it as a gamer from another game, yeah, they could be pretty good. Yeah, I could see that where you're coming from.
Oh, good shout.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. So I'm going to put a link to that list in the show notes at some point. Don't forget, Ritchie, not only does he have a YouTube channel and a podcast, so Just Play, they also run a gaming store up in Liverpool. So if you ever guys want to check it out, and you also have a web store, right? You can order stuff from
you
guys
can shop
as well.
online, justplaygames.uk. We run loads of events in the store as well. So if you fancy going to some major Sigmar things, similar to you, Rob, we've got a bunch of stuff coming on now. Doing little team events as well, and all that. Like, so
Sweet.
Little ones in the sub, little one dayers and that. So there's a ton of events because, like Rob said at the start, we've expanded. There's even more. So yeah, please do.
Yeah. And again, I'll include I'll include that in the show notes as well.
Thank you, Rob.
So
Very
check
kind.
that out. Ritchie, thanks for an amazing show. I've had a great time. I think Owen probably sums up the thoughts of the Age of Sigmar community that already exists, which is we still hate Hearthguard Berzerkers, but Ritchie is a legend. So I think that's probably, if anyone could sell a Ritchie, it's you.
Thank you. Thanks, Owen.
Thanks everyone for listening to the show. Thanks everyone on the Twitch chat. Thanks for all the Hydro homies on the podcast, and thanks for everyone watching on YouTube. Thanks for listening to Honest Wargamer, and I hope you have. Oh no, sorry, before I go, Ritchie, any shout outs? You got a shout out?
Oh, Rob, you've done them all for me, mate. Thank you. Yeah, look, I guess tonight we're live, 7 p.m. playing Age of Sigmar. Ian is coming on for the first time. He's going to come on and play.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's playing Tom. We're playing our stream tournament. We're playing Nurgle this week against Stonehorn. Nurgle, they're good. They've got to be good in this edition, right? So
yeah, I think they are. But we'll find out.
Did their points go up? I'm not sure. I think they forgot about them. So
I think they did. All right. Well, anyway, thanks very much, Ritchie. Thanks everyone on the Twitch chat. Thanks for listening to Wargamer. See you guys soon.
Thanks, Rob.